Hi, and welcome to How Do I BI, a many-part screencast series on using SQL Server Analysis Services 2008. This is based on the book Smart Business Intelligence Solutions with Microsoft SQL Server 2008. I'm Lynn Langen, a developer evangelist with Microsoft Southern California. In this screencast, we're going to take a look at implementing OLAP Cube actions using BIDs. Before we do that, we'll look at our FAQs and gotchas. As with other custom items that you're adding via Mdx, and other types of script to your cube, such as KPIs and calculated members and name sets, you are going to want to verify the results in the BIDS cube viewer of any custom actions that you add. You want to verify your Mdx for both validity and for performance overhead. As with the other items as well, there are included Mdx templates that you're going to want to take a look at that represent the most common action items that customers have wanted to add. The gotchas around this topic include using the correct action object type. There are three different types. There's a general object that has subtypes, a drill-through object, which allows end users to display background or detail information about the particular selected object, and a reporting action that links to a SQL Server Reporting Services instance and a particular report. In terms of the general action objects, you will also then have to select if you want to create a URL, a statement, a dataset, or others. And we'll take a look at this in more detail in the screencast. You want to verify the target type and the target object for each action, and those would include items such as measures, dimensions, hierarchies, so on and so forth. And importantly, you're going to want to make sure that whatever end user client applications you intend to work with in your cube support the display of actions. It's a very, very important consideration because certain action types are supported in certain clients, and you're going to want to verify this before you take the time and trouble to create these custom actions in your cube. And now let's go to the screencast. Screencast, we'll be taking a look at creating custom actions to be associated with parts of your OLAP cube. In order to do that, we've loaded the AdventureWorks sample inside of the BIDS Development Studio, and we've selected the AdventureWorks sample cube by double-clicking it. After you do that, you want to navigate over to the Actions subtab so that we can see the included sample actions, understand how they work, and then understand how to add new actions. As I mentioned in the introduction to the screencast, there are different types of actions. There are actions that are general, that have a specific target object that they create. There are actions that are drill through, which display detailed information about the underlying object that's selected. And there are actions that are associated to creating SSRS reports. So before we create them, let's look at the samples so we can understand how an end user experiences actions. So the first one that we have open here in BIDS is our city map. And as with some of the other custom objects that we've seen, calculations and KPIs, we've got a form view that helps us to more easily fill out the information that's needed by the analysis server to create this action. So we have a city map name, and then we've associated the target to the attribute members of the geography dimension, the city hierarchy. And you can note here that we could target individual cells, the entire cube, dimension members, so on and so forth. And we'll see this in the browser in just a minute. We could set a condition in Mdx of the availability of this action, but we haven't chosen to do that. And then we've set that this action will construct a URL. So this is a general action, and the different types that we can construct out of the general actions are listed here. Their data set, proprietary object, row set, or statement. To create the action, we write an action expression in Mdx. So as with all the other samples, this is pretty well commented. The purpose of this action is when an end user clicks on a particular city in viewing the cube dimension geography members, then they can see the city displayed in MSN Maps. So you can see the URL construction, HTTP, so on and so forth, and then it's going to be associated with the particular city that was selected, and that statement is just geography.city.currentmember.name, and so on and so forth. So to take a look at this, if we jump over into the browser in BIDS, what I've done here is I've selected the reseller sales amount measure, and then I've dragged from the geography dimension the city level over onto the browser. And if I right click on the first city in Australia, which is Cloverdale, in the context-sensitive menu, in addition to all the default values, we have View Map for Cloverdale. And if I were to click that, if I had an internet connection here, which I don't, then this would construct the URL, which would return a map for Cloverdale. So this is an example of a general action. So if we go back to the Actions tab, we can then look at the next type of action, which is a drill-through action. Look at the next type of action, which is a reseller action, which is drill through. So if I look on the form view for this, you can see that the target is the reseller sales measure group. And you can note that drill through actions must target measure groups, which is logical if you think about it, because you're drilling through to see more detailed information around those particular displayed measure values. Again, we have the ability to set a condition, which we haven't done here, and then we set which columns will be displayed. So in the case of reseller details, we've got information from the measures dimension and then information from other dimensions such as reseller, promotion, so on and so forth. We have additional properties that we can set, and those include the invocation type, which is interactive, batch, or on open. And this is important because drill through does take overhead, and it's important to understand whether or not your users will need this to be interactive or to be automatically displayed when they open their cube. If this is information that a large number of users are needing on a regular basis, you might want to take a more detailed look at the design of your cube and consider including the information and creating different cube perspectives, which are different views against the cube, so that the cube doesn't become overly complex for users that might not need this. And if we want to take a look at what the end user will see here, we're going to go over to the browser again, and we're going to look at our same displayed value, which has the reseller sales amount measure. It has the geography hierarchy, which is displaying Australia as the country and Cloverdale as the city. If I, in the measures area, right-click on the first measure, you'll note that to the context-sensitive menu, there is the option of drill through displayed. Now, when I click on drill through, even though it's only for one city, it generally would take a little bit longer than the instant return here. What I did is cached it for the purposes of the screencast. And you can see now that we've got the columns that we've selected that are showing this the detail behind the particular measure that we've selected. So this is a highly popular feature. In fact, we have actually enhanced in this version of Analysis Services the way the information is being retrieved from storage. We're able to retrieve it from what's called MOLAP, or multidimensional storage, which makes it run faster. So that's an example of what the end user might see in the browser for the general action and for the drill through action. Now, if we want to look at the third type of action that's available, then that's the report action. We actually don't have a sample of what the end user would see, but I think you can probably figure it out by me just going through it. So this is called sales reason comparisons. Again, we set the target type. This is comparable to the general action, so we can set it attribute members, cells, cubes, so on and so forth. We set the target object, so product category, rather than all attribute members. And then we can set a condition if we want to. In this particular case, it's just got some comments in here. We then need to configure where the report server is living, so that when this action is invoked, the appropriate report server instance can be called. And for the purposes of demonstration, just localhost. And then we have the report path, which is report server !WAC AdventureWorks sample reports WAC sales reason comparison. And then if we go into this a little bit more deeply, that's the path for the particular report. And the report format is in HTML5, and we can select HTML, Excel, or PDF for the report format. We also have the ability to pass parameters, which is optional. And in this case, we're passing the product category, and we have the example here of the URL escape fragment product.category.currentMember.unique_name. And when we click on the build button to configure the parameter, this opens up the Mdx Builder, which gives us the ability to drag the metadata and drag the functions up to the expression area so that we can more easily create the correct Mdx expression to pass the correct parameter. We have the ability to pass additional properties in as well, and this sample does have a couple of those. As with some of the other actions, we have the ability to invoke this interactively, batch, or on open. we can associate with an application. We can assign a description, and we can assign a caption, and that caption can be dynamic. In this case, it is. So we have product.category.currentMember, member caption plus the value, and then we are indicating that this caption is being built through Mdx by saying caption is Mdx true. So as with the other custom objects that we've covered in the previous screencasts, I recommend for better productivity that you utilize the included templates, which give you examples of common business problems that are solved by actions. We've got a couple of folder containers here. We've got the reporting, and we've got the standard as well. Also, we have the function metadata browser, function and metadata browser, I should say, so that when you're constructing the Mdx, you can click and drag rather than typing things in natively. And finally, we do have the syntax checker. The last thing that I want to show while we're in the Actions tab is relevant to calculations, KPIs, and actions. In the Enterprise Edition of Analysis Services, we have this ability to add business intelligence. And if I click on this button, this opens a wizard. And what this will do is this will allow you via a wizard to add custom Mdx items via this wizard rather than using either the calculations, KPI, or actions tabs. Now, a lot of these do deal with calculations, but since we've gone through these 3 screencasts on adding custom objects, it feels like it's an appropriate time to talk about this. So you can see some of the options inside of here are to define time intelligence, account intelligence, dimension intelligence, unary operators, create custom member formulas, specify attribute ordering, define semi-additive behavior, or define currency conversion. For more information about this, do see the book that's referenced in the beginning of the screencast, because I've covered all these in detail. Just want to make you aware that this is another part of the toolkit inside of SSAS. Thank you.